Orhan and Sedat were childhood friends. They grew up together, listening to ghost stories from their grandparents. They were the closest of friends. Sedat also had a younger sister named Kadan. The three of them spent their childhood playing and enjoying life together. As time passed, Kadan and Orhan fell in love, and eventually their relationship was fulfilled through marriage. But Orhan's parents were strongly against their marriage. Even now, they haven't fully accepted it. That's why they live separately from Orhan and Kadan. Today, Sedat is reminiscing about those beautiful old days. But suddenly, he is reminded of a terrifying incident from 7 years ago, an event that left a dark stain on the lives of Sedat, Orhan, and Kadan. For the first time, Sedat is writing it all down in his diary. These memories still keep him awake at night, so what exactly happened back then? Orhan and Sedat, the two childhood friends, had started a factory together that produced explosive materials. Their business was going smoothly, but one day, a worker named Halil was smoking inside the factory. His carelessness caused the cigarette's flame to spread to one part of the factory, burning several items. Had the fire spread further, the damage could have been much worse. Halil had already been warned several times not to smoke inside the factory, but he didn't listen. So this time, Orhan became furious and fired him. Halil begged repeatedly, saying he had taken many bank loans and if he couldn't repay them, his life would be ruined. But Orhan ignored his pleas and told him to collect his belongings and leave. That night, after dinner, Orhan and Kadan went to sit alone under a tree near their house. They considered the tree their lucky charm because it had brought them good fortune before. Sitting there, Kadan shared the happiest news of their life. She told Orhan that he was going to be a father, and the next day she planned to go into the city with Sedat for a checkup. Hearing this, Orhan was overwhelmed with joy. But while Orhan was lost in happiness, Halil's life was slowly fading away. Unable to bear the burden of his debts and the loss of his job, Halil ended his life. The next morning, upon hearing the news of Halil's death, his wife Aisha came outside the factory crying. When Orhan stepped out to comfort her, she blamed him for her husband's death and cursed him, saying his future would become as dark as the soil of that factory. Her words shook Orhan deeply, and he broke down in tears. Meanwhile, Sedat took his son Mehmet and Kadan toward the city hospital for her checkup. Mehmet's mother had died long ago, so Kadan loved him as her own child. Suddenly, Orhan called Sedat to inform him about Halil's death. Shocked by the news, Sedat hurriedly turned the car around without checking the rearview mirror, and a huge truck rammed into them. The accident left Mehmet paralyzed. He could no longer speak, and Kadan developed amnesia, losing her memory. Since Sedat was sitting in the front seat, he escaped without major injuries. Months passed after the accident. One night, while Kadan was asleep on the sofa, Orhan sat thinking about the old days they had shared, days she no longer remembered. Suddenly, Kadan woke up. The bright light in the room hurt her eyes, so Orhan turned off all the lights and lit a candle instead. At that moment, Sedat called him, but Orhan didn't pick up. Since the accident, Orhan had blamed Sedat for everything and had cut off all contact. He neither answered Sedat's calls nor allowed him to visit their home. Even when Sedat often stood outside the house late at night, Orhan saw him but refused to open the door. Heartbroken by his friend's rejection, Sedat left and went to his wife Melek's grave. Before dying, Melek had repeatedly asked Sedat to always protect Mehmet. But today, he felt he had failed her. Their son was now suffering. Sedat stood by her grave, apologizing over and over. Returning home, he went into Mehmet's room and sensed something strange. Suddenly, the room seemed to shake like an earthquake. Everything trembled. A storm raged outside. Then, from the next room, he heard a terrifying, unnatural noise. Rushing in, he found mysterious symbols etched into the floor. Horrified, he froze. At that moment, his mother entered and switched on the light. Instantly, the markings vanished. Sedat couldn't understand what was happening. Meanwhile, in the middle of the night, Kadan heard whispering sounds coming from a locked room near the dining hall. She followed the sound and found the room sealed, with a talisman tied outside the door. Kadan knocked hard, trying to open it, and suddenly her face contorted, transforming into something ghostly. The whole room began to shake. Hearing the commotion, Orhan rushed in. Kadan asked him what was inside the room and why it was locked. Orhan hugged her and told her that the room held some dark memories, things better left unknown to her. That's why he kept it locked and warned her never to go near it. After sending her back to her room, Orhan entered the locked room himself. Inside, he had been practicing black magic using sand. This was why he didn't want Kadan anywhere near that place. Orhan scattered the sand around the house, forming a protective boundary. The next morning, while Orhan's father was cooking, his mother glanced at a photo of Orhan and Kadan, and suddenly she felt someone whispering inside her mind that Orhan was in grave danger and would soon be killed. A little later, when Orhan's father brought her food, he discovered she was no longer at home. Without telling him, she had left and was heading straight toward Orhan's house like a lost soul, walking without awareness. Orhan's father hurried after her and managed to bring her back home, as she kept saying she had a task to complete. He couldn't understand what she meant. Meanwhile, Orhan had gone to the factory. At home, Kadan found a picture of Orhan and began trying to recall their past, but nothing came to her. Later, she stood before a mirror and, just like the previous night, saw a hideous figure staring back at her. Terrified, she ran into another room and found a talisman wrapped in thread. The moment she picked it up, she began acting uncontrollably, throwing clothes out of drawers like a madwoman. That night, when Orhan returned, he found Kadan holding a photocopy of a picture showing him, Kadan, and his parents. When he mentioned his parents, Kadan asked why only Orhan's parents were in the picture. Where were her own parents? Orhan had no answer. As he left the room, he suddenly felt something strange. He hurried to the window and saw, right outside the boundary he had made with sand, another Orhan, looking exactly like him, standing with an old woman whose clothes were soaked in blood. Shocked, Orhan ran outside, killed a goat, placed 2 talismans by its head, and buried it in front of the house. From a distance, Sidat saw it all and shouted, asking what Orhan was doing, but Orhan ignored him and went back inside. Entering the house, he told Kadan never to leave the house without his permission. He said he loved her deeply and that he didn't have the strength to lose her again. In the middle of the night, after Kadan falls asleep, Orhan once again goes into that locked room and begins performing black magic. But this time, we see that he is doing black magic on his beloved Kadan herself. He takes a photo of Kadan, pierces both her eyes in the picture, writes something on the back of the photo, and then burns it in a candle flame. Meanwhile, when Sidat returns home and goes to sleep, he suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night. He notices that Mehmet is not on his bed, even though Mehmet cannot move at all. Worried, Sidat checks the next room and sees Mehmet's mother sitting in Mehmet's wheelchair, but her face looks completely different, horrifying and grotesque. She rises from the wheelchair and charges at him. At the same moment, a girl who looks exactly like Kadan appears and haunts him. Sidat instantly wakes up in shock. The entire incident was just a dream. Mehmet is still sleeping on his bed, and the next room is quiet as always. The next morning, after Orhan leaves, Kadan finds some old photos of herself in the room, but she cannot remember anything, even after looking at them. Just then, she hears a strange sound from downstairs. When she follows the sound, she finds another amulet, and beneath it, a small key. But the moment she touches it, the terrifying girl appears again. Shocked, Kadan immediately lets go of the amulet and runs off. That evening, Sidat is helping Mehmet draw by guiding his hand. Suddenly, someone begins knocking continuously on the front door. Sidat goes outside but finds no one. Confused, he returns to the room, only to see Mehmet standing up from his wheelchair, drawing a strange girl on the wall wearing a large amulet around her neck. Shocked by this impossible sight, he calls Mehmet's name. At that very moment, Mehmet collapses unconscious on the floor. That night, once again, Orhan sneaks into the locked room and begins performing black magic on his parents. He writes something on a piece of paper, ties it to their photograph, and then leaves for his parents' house. After a long time, seeing their son makes his parents extremely happy. But Orhan is there for a different reason. Without their knowledge, he hides the paper behind the mirror in the house. Meanwhile, overwhelmed by all the strange events of the day, Sidat goes outside for a cigarette. His mother comes and tells him that everything happening in their house is not normal. He must speak to a spiritual healer, Huzur. Maybe he can solve it, but Sidat refuses. When he returns inside, he is shocked to see his mother sitting on the sofa, exactly where she had been before. So who was the woman outside telling him to visit Huzur? Back at home, Orhan calls Kadan, asking her to come with him. Following his gesture, she walks toward the lucky tree with him. But midway, she notices Orhan is no longer beside her. Terrified, she screams his name. Not finding him anywhere, she walks toward the tree, where she sees 3 bodies wrapped in white cloth lying underneath it. As she tries to uncover one of the bodies, she sees its terrifying face and screams. At that moment, Orhan wakes up and sees Kadan strangling herself in her sleep. He quickly shakes her awake and holds her tightly. The whole thing was Kadan's nightmare. Later, when Sidat returns home, his mother tells him she has already spoken to Huzur, and he is waiting for them that very night. So Sidat takes Mehmet to Huzur. Huzur writes something on a paper and drops it into a jar filled with water. He tells Sidat that he may not know him well, but Huzur already knew from last night that they would come. Sidat cannot understand how Huzur knew this beforehand. Huzur further reveals that both Mehmet and Sidat are currently possessed by a jinn. Hearing this, Sidat panics and begs him for help. Huzur assures him he will help, but the jinn's intention is still unknown. To find this out, he needs someone else's help and tells Sidat to return the next afternoon with Mehmet. That night, Orhan's mother suddenly wakes up, takes a pair of scissors, goes to the mirror, cuts up the paper Orhan had hidden, and flushes it down the toilet. She returns to her room, sits on a chair, and starts crying. Orhan's father wakes up, gently helps her to bed again, and puts her to sleep. The next afternoon, Sidat returns to Huzur's house with Mehmet. They find a woman there, a medium helping Huzur communicate with the jinn to discover their true intention. After learning what the jinn want, Huzur heats an amulet over a stove and instructs Sidat to repeat everything he says. As they chant, the woman begins acting strangely. Huzur tells Sidat that humans can never speak directly to jinn, only understand their signs. He then reveals that every night, Sidat goes to a room he is not allowed to enter. The jinn are trying to make Sidat do something inside that house. Huzur instructs him to stay awake in Mehmet's room all night. The jinn will give him a sign through Mehmet or his mother. Once Sidat receives the sign, he must go to that house and find a large amulet hidden somewhere inside. His task is to destroy it by burning it, but the process will be terrifying. No matter what he sees, he must not be afraid. Sidat realizes the house is Orhan's. Following the instructions, he waits in Mehmet's room but falls asleep. In his dream, he sees Mehmet playing outside with a bucket, along with a strange sound echoing around him. Startled, he wakes up to find Mehmet still asleep, but his hands are moving continuously on their own. Mehmet keeps repeating that his father must save Kadan. Just then, Sidat's mother appears and tells him the same thing. Save Kadan. This is the sign. Sidat rushes toward Orhan's house. Meanwhile, Orhan leaves Kadan alone at home and goes to his parents' house, only to find his father's dead body lying on the bed. His mother is nowhere to be seen. As he searches, he notices the paper behind the mirror is gone. Entering the next room, he finds his mother's dead body slumped on a chair. Sidat arrives outside Orhan's house and calls him. When no one answers, he breaks the door and enters. On the sofa sits Kadan, staring ahead, but Sidat cannot see her at all. Kadan also cannot understand why Sidat cannot see her. Sidat walks toward the locked room with the amulet hanging on its door. He breaks in. The moment he enters, a rotten smell fills the air. Kadan follows him inside. Shocked, Sidat sees all the black magic tools scattered around the room. Then he notices a body wrapped in a shroud, a large amulet hanging from its neck, exactly as Huzur described. He remembers Mehmet had drawn a similar girl on the wall earlier. Without wasting time, he unwraps the shroud and is horrified to see the decayed corpse of his beloved sister Kadan. He cannot believe his eyes, but following Huzur's instructions, he takes the amulet from Kadan's corpse and throws it into the fire. Instantly, the living Kadan's face becomes distorted and monstrous. She screams as a terrifying jinn grabs her and drags her back into their realm. Now, for the first time, Sidat can see her, but he is powerless. Orhan returns and breaks down, blaming Sidat for taking Kadan away from him once again. And now, the biggest twist of the movie is revealed. Sidat learns that Kadan actually died in a car accident because of a curse placed by Halil's wife Asha. But Orhan refused to accept her death. He dug up her corpse and brought it home. Determined to bring her back, he tried to resurrect her using black magic, something impossible. Instead, he trapped a female jinn from the jinn world, forcing it to take Kadan's form and imprisoning her in this body. That is why she could not remember anything from her past, because she was never Kadan, she was a jinn. Yet Orhan's love was so pure that even the jinn girl began to trust him and gradually fall in love with him. But her mother, the jinn, would not accept this. She kept trying to take her daughter back, To stop them, Orhan constantly blocked their attempts with black magic. But when they couldn't overpower Orhan, the jinn attacked his parents. Orhan tried protecting them with the enchanted paper, but when his mother destroyed it, the jinn killed both of them. 2 weeks later, Mehmet fully recovers. Orhan disappears completely. And with that, Sedat's diary ends. But in the very last scene, we see Orhan is still alive. Every day he waits by Kadan's grave. And with this, today's incredible movie comes to an end. Friends, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and stay with us.